Okay. Hi, welcome everyone to the Hippie Magica YouTube channel. Today we have a very special guest. He is a subscriber that managed to manifest his dream job during the quarantine. Jay, could you introduce yourself, where you're from?
Sure. Uh, my name's Jay, and I live in the middle of America. And I feel very honored to be on as a guest with you because I've been very inspired by your channel.
Thank you. Could you tell us how you started off with self-love, or where was your life before you manifested your dream life? What did you do to manifest it? And then where you are now?
Sure. Well, in kind of a nutshell, I have a counseling degree. I've worked with individuals with disabilities for decades. And looking back now, I can see that I did kind of a traditional progression through the field. One thing led to another. And actually, then after 27 years of working with one agency, I was able to retire from that, but I wasn't done working and wasn't done connecting with people. And so I then the 6 years after that, I jumped into different jobs. I had kind of pictured a nice orderly, oh, I've got so many more years to go and I'll finish it out at one place. But briefly, the 6 years after leaving the one agency I was with for a long time was just a lot of speed bumps and potholes and tough stuff, which
Mm.
happened in life. But then I had basically it. Most of those agencies, or a couple of them in those 6 years, had a lot of disrespect. Really, I wasn't feeling valued. Felt like I had ideas to contribute, but the administrators were not open to that. Just felt some out and out disrespect. And so as each year went by, I'll add in the age factor. Um, I'm almost 63 now. And so all the, in kind of a logical career progression kind of thinking that I was able to get into the different jobs based on the previous year's experience. But then as I was getting into more of these jobs was just discouraging. My
Mm.
whole vibration was probably not too good. I
Mm.
was very discouraged, kind of stuck. Um, and I think that sometimes that discomfort and just being down about the situation did then kind of help me force me into some looking at some other things and trying to change how I was feeling, and then started looking at different YouTube channels, things like that. But by the time I was really needing to get out of this last agency, because I was in kind of a regular, in the back of my mind, fear that my position would be eliminated or I'd be let go. Not a
Mm.
good feeling. And I know everybody has those experiences, but,
Mhm.
and I was listening to more and more um, viewing different videos that talked about the importance of kind of laws of attraction and keeping a more of a high vibration. It was tough though, honestly. I think a
Mm.
lot of people experience this, that um, it's hard to get into a higher vibration place in
Mm.
the face of things weren't on the surface. We're not looking at it like they were going to change.
Mm.
But so there's leading up to this job opportunity, which has been, and I love it. It's just been great.
Mm.
But I'm working with college students who majority right now are age 18 or 19. I'm
Mm.
working with some older individuals too. But here I was trying to search for other jobs that could use my experience. And I'm thinking now, okay, 62 years old, COVID had set in, and how am I going to make a jump? They're going
Mm,
to want probably a younger person to work with these students, somebody
right.
who's, you know, and I had actually applied for this position with this college system twice before over the years, was not able to get that job. So I'm thinking, why would it be, why would I have a chance now?
Right.
And my wife encouraged me to go ahead and apply for it. And
But this was after you got laid off, right?
no, actually,
Ah,
this
okay.
was during the time, yeah. And I had reached a point on the last job that I remember writing down on a piece of paper the things I didn't know where I would go to. That I wasn't really thinking this was going to be the opportunity that would work. The job opening was coming up about that time, but it took several months to
Mm,
be confirmed and get through a three-stage process. But I wrote down on a piece of paper what I wanted in a job. Either it had to change, that job had to change, and my environment and the respect I wanted. I just didn't want to be disrespected.
right.
But I wrote that down. I wanted to be valued and respected. I wanted to have a place where there was people were pretty upbeat and there was more communication and connectivity. So I wrote those things down. I remember, and then I didn't know what else might come about. So I do remember watching a number of your videos that I'll mention specifically, um, but that were kind of there were a lot of things that I think I was doing, not consciously even, but kind of prepare for a change. And one of them was that actually kind of I had some work experiences, like I mentioned, the last 6 years where it was just crazy. I felt things didn't go well and felt kind of not valued. And so I had some unforgiveness, perhaps, and
Mm,
um, had some unforgiveness, even though I don't think of myself as being an unforgiving person.
mm,
I had some things from many years ago, not even related to work. And I found, discovered Ho'oponopono.
mm,
Um, and as I was searching for more videos about that, which has a lot to do with forgiveness and love,
mm,
sounds very simple. It's very simple kind of meditation, if you will, or some phrases. But I found that's what led me to your channel. I'm so
mm,
glad. And your video talking about that was very clear and just um, kind of made me want to keep discovering that more. That I think as a practice, whether it's a prayer or a meditation, whatever you want to call it, was kind of an instrument, a tool to help me get more into some forgiveness and kind of clear out some get to a better mindset.
mm,
And and even if it was not something that I thought about every day to day, that trying to do that periodically, it helped me get kind of process some past stuff. And then I started, that was the first video of yours that I listened to. And then
what
I
was the
remember,
name? The Everyone Is You Pushed Out?
no, the
Your
one
job
with
is You Pushed Out.
Ho'oponopono was the first one I listened to.
Okay.
And then after that, I think I started going back to some of your first where this is one, I don't remember the title of it, but it was where you were talking about your past experience and how this is kind of using my words, but you knew there was more and you didn't feel like you were being recognized or
Mm,
had the respect or opportunities that you needed. And I remember, honestly, I remember you kind of getting in touch with like, no, it's going to be better. And kind of almost, I found myself, that was permission for me to get a little bit ticked off at my
mhm,
situation. It's like, no, it's an energized, it's not something, anger is not some emotion I would want to stay long in, but it almost helped me mobilize. And
mm,
so that was kind of seeing how you followed your path and broke free and discovered more and more of things that could be manifested. That was that was great.
Mm.
And then yes, I think perhaps one of the very next ones I watched. So viewers, I hope you take some time and go back to into the library of videos
Right.
that Rory has done. But this one was everything as you pushed out. So I started kind of learning more about some of these ideas that sometimes trace back not just to Neville Goddard, but some other people.
Mm.
Um, and so, but everything as you pushed out, I realized that maybe there's some, even though it doesn't make sense, a lot of this doesn't make sense in kind of a logical manner, but maybe there's some things within me that were creating these situations, especially in the workplace, where I wasn't being recognized or valued, or that even my ideas to improve the services were
Mm.
just not even getting a response. Was there something within me that was inviting that? I don't know. But
Mm.
it took some time to kind of work through some of those things. And then I started, so that was the stuff that was more perhaps complicated, deeper, whatever. And then as I got closer to this work opportunity, which again is like on a logical manner, who would want,
Right.
I was competing against some younger candidates with just equal experience. But then I started using a number of different strategies and techniques, and I didn't really dwell on them in a big way, but it's just things I'd heard about with these, especially, um, I think they can be traced, some of them back to Neville Goddard. But
Mhm.
so I visualized this college. I'd been to it maybe once or twice years ago. I went on to Google Images and found a picture, printed that out, and I actually printed another one with some pictures of students, and I tacked that up on the bulletin board next to my treadmill for a while, not every day. I
Mm.
did that for a while though, and these are some little small things. I don't know how much they had an effect, but I also was trying to imagine myself already having the job, and so I would imagine driving this one side road, and instead of the main highway, drive this side road, which is just beautiful, scenic, and I would be driving there to the job. And I don't own a convertible. I probably will never own a convertible, but I think it got me in touch with the environment and the experience. I imagined myself driving a convertible sports car on the
Mm.
way to the job, and I could see the wonderful trees. I could feel the wind. I could. It was just kind of a, and that's, as I understand, it's good to engage as many of the
Mhm.
five senses and kind of expecting that this is real. It's already done. And actually, I remember even thinking about, oh, well, my congratulations dinner treat to myself is going to be at
Mm.
my favorite restaurant, or from my favorite restaurant, takeout at these times. But I actually went on went on their website, and I looked at the menu. I think I might have even printed the menu off. But
Wow.
anyway, so again, to make it seem kind of real.
Right.
And um, and then this is just not any of these. They sound a little bit hokey in a way, but um, I did them anyway. And on the a doorway at an office or on a desk, sometimes you have a name plate.
Right.
So I actually went online. I found kind of an image of a nameplate, and I added my name with the title of the job I was applying for. So
Mhm.
again, living in the end
Mhm.
experience as if it's already happened. And and then there was a part of preparing for the interview where I was given an assignment to prepare a presentation that
Mm.
would go to new faculty members who need to know more about this one piece of information that related to disabilities. So that kind of actually helped me too, because as I was practicing for that, and this first interview was through Zoom. And so I rehearsed that enough to where it was kind of within me, but I talked to, because I was supposed to pretend like I was presenting to a faculty. I said,
Right.
my name's Jay. I'm this position at this location. And I just, my tone was that I already had the job. And then those are just a few things. And indeed, even though it took forever, they offered me the job. So I know on one hand, people could say, oh, well, it's because you've worked in the field for a while.
Mm.
But it's such a great job 4 months later. And so much more peace and happiness. And looking
Mm.
back, when you're in a situation with stress and feeling like your job's going to be eliminated or you're not respected, you kind of, I think it's possible to build up a tolerance for it or
Yeah.
not be desensitivity. But once you get out of it, I know you've been there,
Yeah.
but it feels so much better. So that's that's that story pretty much.
Wow. Well, you were super concise, super detailed. I visualized everything you said. So thank you for being such a good storyteller. And
Sure,
I would like to ask you some questions in between
sure.
because it kind of seemed like it just happened, right? But there were some like some stumbles maybe, or like because you emailed me, I think before you, while you were applying for the job or something, and
Hmm.
then you emailed me again saying I have an interview, and then you said it went well, and then you didn't reply until like a month later. You're like, I got the job finally. So like, what was happening in those, in that space when you didn't have a job, and while you were waiting to see if you were hired, officially hired after the first um
Sure.
yeah,
No,
interview.
I just as in the preparation for it, and I don't. I think part of this is that I've really become newly acquainted with how forces beyond me or ourselves or a higher self, something beyond the physical, definitely is involved here. And I normally in the past, I don't think I would have had this kind of more immediate belief because
Mm,
um, even when I was trying to picture those things, it just felt at some point earlier on over the 2 or 3 month period it took to hear that the job was mine.
mm,
um, I still felt like, actually, this feels pretty good. I mean,
wow.
it feels like it's, and at some point, I actually took the pictures of the college off of my bulletin board and stuck it in a folder. And I did write down, though, at one point, thank you so much for this job that's been given to me or whatever. So
Mm,
again, one more thing of which I think writing things down sometimes helps. I don't do it probably as much as I should, but
mhm,
and I stuck that in a folder. So it wasn't like something I was day to day. And in fact, I think that as I understand, that can kind of work against manifesting something. Is like if you're almost chasing something, and it's that expression of whatever you're focusing on it is what comes about, what you attract. So if I'm so focusing on, I've got to believe this into existence. I've got to keep thinking about the college and I've got to keep thinking, please, this got to be. So it's almost by overthinking it, then it's focusing in on what's not come about yet. So
mm,
somehow I haven't been able to do this much in many years, but I was able to kind of set that aside and just have that feeling of, yeah, this is going to work out. And so during those couple months where I was still working and I was still kind of crazy, I think I actually even, I'm pretty sure I typed out my letter of resignation before getting the offer. And I've done that a couple times before. It's kind of like one more different version of imagining the end in mind.
right.
And I typed out, and it was a nice letter. It was a good agency I was with. It wasn't all bad, but
Yeah.
so I said I appreciate the opportunity. I have worked here. I wouldn't leave for any other job, but I'm moving on to this. And I typed out the name of it. So, and here's the wild part, things are meant to happen for a reason, I guess. But so when I went to hand in my letter of resignation, when I actually had a start date, I got an email from my supervisor saying she wanted to talk with me. So I went to I took my letter in my hand
Oh
because
wow.
and he was gone. He had been, his position was eliminated.
Oh,
So I handed it to her instead, but I was getting out about when I really needed to. And then since then, there's been more and more people who have left. But anyway, your
so
question is,
so you quit your job. You weren't laid off, right?
I did quit my job.
Oh, you
I,
quit.
I quit my job after I had the next job offer.
Ah, okay, okay. I thought it was the opposite. Okay.
No, I
Wow.
was that there was I was hearing for, gosh, 4 or 5 months or so. I was hearing these messages from my immediate supervisor that if there wasn't more productivity and outcomes, that you really need to get this done this month, and you
Mm,
don't want to have a target on your back.
right.
And he meant that as just kind of, I think, a friendly warning. Please, I hope you can get this to happen.
Mm,
But so it wouldn't have been much longer. But no, I took steps months before earlier,
mm.
and I did have that new job um, ready to go to before turning in my letter.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
I have a big admiration for anytime I see people who choose to even let go
Mm,
before they see what's what's coming around the bend, what
mm,
they've believed into place. So yeah,
exactly. Wow. Well, that changes the story a little bit because I thought you were laid off and you were just waiting to get this job. So this also helps that you weren't desperate for this other job, right? Because if you were jobless, maybe there would have been a little bit of desperation of like, oh my gosh, I hope I get it. But you were like still in a safe zone.
that's true.
Yeah,
I
because
was
I
in
was
this,
wondering like how did you have so much faith? Like I mean, you still did, but like you weren't desperate, like you didn't need it at that
no,
moment yet.
no, that's true. Economically and for having insurance, etc. I did not need that, so I was in that safe zone. I was in a safe zone that seemed so oppressive, and in that sense, I was desperate to get
Right,
it.
to get out.
But I
Yeah,
did have,
exactly.
I did go from one to the other, and so,
Um,
um, but yeah. So
so
getting,
no, go ahead.
just getting through those months, even though, because once I had a pretty good feeling about that position, I
Mm,
didn't continue on applying for more and more jobs. So there were some moments still where it's like, is this ever going to happen?
right.
So, yeah.
Wow. Well, so in your last job that you quit, you were feeling disrespected, unappreciated, undervalued, and do you think it was like a toxic environment too? Like the coworkers, everyone.
Yes, I think it was. And here's the thing is that within the agency, there's some wonderful staff that were kind of getting through it somehow. And I would see, um, and I would be an ear to them as well. And even though I wasn't there, I was a manager, but I
Mm,
wasn't their manager. I would try to just be a listening ear. But yeah, the environment was now not being in that.
mm,
Uh, kind of got used to it, I guess. But there just was a tenseness and kind of, I think anytime this happened, I've seen this happen in a couple of agencies is that when staff who are doing the main bulk of the work that makes that service or business exist, they may have some ideas or concerns that some things need to be changed. And anytime that they are sending this message of, this isn't right, they're seen as complaining,
Right, exactly.
when really if they would be more closely listened to, um, and some of their ideas could be put into action and things could be improved. But so I think a lot of organizations have some dysfunction. It's kind of maybe to be expected. Some have more than others. And I have seen this though, where when the CEO or the head of a large organization, and the last two that I worked at had about 100 to 150 employees. That's not huge, but within one building, roughly, there was another office with one, but that's sizable. When you have this CEO or the head of the organization not touching base or being in tune with, or maybe a couple layers down even, maybe that's right underneath the CEO, when they're not truly engaging the, what I say with all respect and admiration, the frontline staff, that's dysfunction. And that, if that doesn't change, then things are not going to change. But so I feel like I've somehow broke free from some organizations on that.
Do
And
you
then,
do you see how you pushed out in that previous job?
yes, I do. I think this is something I'll never know, perhaps,
Yeah.
but I have, since I was probably in my early 20s,
Mm.
tried to always think in terms of that, what impact I can have in a positive way. And so I've never honestly, I don't think I've identified with being helpless. It's like, what can I do? And that's my job to take an active role and not be disrespected or taken advantage of or whatever. But I think in going back a number of years, I had the experience.
Mhm.
Maybe those experiences are supposed to help you grow.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't catch on quickly in some of these situations, but I had the experience of an administrator. This was 15 years ago or so, not misinterpreting me, I think. And so I started, it may be possible that it started planting some seeds that, well, I'm going to be encountering these administrators and these executive people.
Right. You were
And
expecting them, right?
right, right. And that, so it's that you pushed out. If I was expecting that, if I had that, even thinking that, well, this is pretty common and maybe it's going to be common with me, and I'll just be here to push hard and make good things happen if I can. But if I expected that, how much was I creating that? And that's where that one video that you had about everything as you pushed out, I think I started thinking that could be happening from one agency to another.
Wow. So after you learned you were pushed out, what did you change about yourself to make this new job different and more enjoyable? Like what happened within you?
That's one of the hardest questions you've asked. So it's a good one, because I'm not sure if I'm aware of it. I know that I chose to I chose to try and expect those things within myself which is hard to do, and not within of myself necessarily, but that's part of it too. But I tried to change my thinking of the experiences that I'm going someplace where there will be a more positive environment.
Mm.
Um, and I think that some practice also that's helped me stay in the right zone. I don't think I was, when I finally got the job offer, this was all kind of building, and maybe it was building on a year or two of going through these difficult situations where I was just desperate for something else.
Mm.
Um, but I think I was barely you, making the right changes and trying these different strategies to get this job. But since then, leading up to it, shortly before and since then, I've actually tried to do something that I of meditating, which I've tried for decades before, and it wasn't easy, and it was actually not enjoyable because in a way I would try and quiet my mind, and this is something any probably teacher of meditation would say is that you're going to have that. Don't, okay, you get kind of distracted, we'll come back to center or whatever.
Exactly.
But finally, and even now, and it could be just 10 minutes a day, and it could be 20, but I think that's also helped me kind of stay more centered.
Mm.
Um, so I'm not sure if I answered that question. But
Yeah, totally. Because you pushed out is a reflection of your inner state. So if meditation has helped you be in a more peaceful way, even if it's just 10 minutes, that's going to reflect in your exterior reality in some way. So it's like, how do you feel most of the day now? Do you feel peaceful? So it's not so much what you're thinking every day, how you feel, because people are like, I need to be in a high frequency. I need to think positive thoughts. But I think it's just as simple as feeling good, as feeling relaxed and peaceful. And you took that action in regards to like meditation, helping you stay maybe calmer and less anxious with less thoughts, and also meditation helps you like be aware of the thoughts, right? Like disconnecting, and
right,
that's powerful.
yeah, no, that's a good description because I think I find myself these days able to maintain more peacefulness, which I
Yeah.
think is what I might have always been interested in having anyway. But then perhaps that allows me to also go back into the world, and by having a different energy, maybe that unleashes a different possibilities. People react differently. And yes, as far as being, I think if I do this, and I haven't been doing it for many months, I'd say I've been doing it steady for 2 or 3 months. But I do find myself having not totally quieted my mind, but being more receptive to a thought or inspiration that might be solving a very concrete problem in a way. Uh, I might not have thought about, oh, this would be a different solution in this sense. So, um, anyway.
Wow. No, that's perfect. It all makes sense, from how, because okay, so now your job is super nice. People are super respectful. You feel like you belong. You feel wanted. Like, so can you describe your new environment?
Sure. Um, and it may just be that this type of setting is more common to be that way. I don't know, but um, so it's been different getting to know the employer and getting to know the system from virtually. I mean, I go in a couple days a week, and then I've been learning from home basically and trying to make connections. And so the immediate team of the staff who do the same thing as I do have been very accessible, and um, they're at different campuses, different buildings.
Mm.
So most of them I've not met in person. But they were always very welcoming. And then it as I go over in person to these two different buildings, it's like, and maybe it's not me, it just happens to be the type of people that find their way into that kind of work, but they just seem calm and friendly, and it's just that they do seem welcoming. It almost seems like I've worked there for a lot longer than I have. So it's seems easy just to connect and feel comfortable talking with them. And yes, as far as feeling respected and valued, I mean, I've gotten feedback from a couple of supervisors that are saying, yes, that's a great idea, or yes, you're doing a great job. We appreciate that you've onboarded not in person, and so a lot more positive feedback. And I'm not, having gone some years without much positive feedback on the job. I don't know that I look for that or count on it. It's sure nice when it comes. So yeah, but everything that I had kind of that I've written down as some general things that I wanted were able to come about. So yeah, it's been great, and it does, especially in the last month or so, as I think back about how I'm realizing how good this is, and there's reasons why I spent those 6 years, especially, and some of the time before that, in situations that had so much strife and conflict and whatever. It's like, man, could I have not started that a little bit earlier? But things are meant to be, I guess.
Do you feel like you were more negative before and now you're more positive? Like your mental diet is different? Like, are you less pessimistic? Do you expect good things, or do you just not have expectations? And I don't know, I'm trying to get in your head of like how you created this. Because I believe everything, we create everything. And right now you're saying like maybe it just happened, right? Like maybe it just got into this job, but I feel like no, you created it.
Here's a different, now I think that I had the mental thinking and the mental outlook that was needed all along, but there's something huge different. So I remember when I was oh gosh, about 20 years old, and this grade school friend met, and I need to buy this again. It's probably $6 used on Amazon, but Psycho-Cybernetics was a book in the 70s or 80s or whatever, late 70s, that was written years before all this current law of attraction. Okay. And their Navigator was back in the whatever 40s, 50s, 60s. Shen, another person who had similar teachings or whatever, she was back in the last century. So these ideas are kind of coming back around. But I remember thinking back in my 20s that, okay, we have the power to create. We have, so I had that. And then I think I had a lot of years where I got not trapped in the process of being part of organization, getting, doing things because I feel like I had to. I don't think that there was a shift in that aspect of thinking, but there's, in fact, if anything, sometimes I feel like there was a lot of years where I was striving to make things happen. And if I just did the right amount of stuff, if I thought a certain way and did the right amount of stuff, I think that's been partly a change this past year or so, is that there's some new elements that have come in that aren't about being so focused on empowering through something, and
Mm.
I don't know if that does that make sense at
Yeah,
all?
like before you were striving for something, right? You were thinking of the future. Like this,
Mhm.
this moment was never enough. But since now you meditate, I feel like you spend more time living in the present moment, which is where the magic truly happens, you know?
True. And maybe that's a difference because you're right. It's so easy to live in the past or keep thinking about towards the future. And I feel like I have lived my life in pretty much the now, experiencing things and
Mm.
as much as I can. And so, but there's a new kind of a freedom from, I don't know, there's more, I think, knowing that it's possible. And I do feel like this is not common thinking. It's becoming more common thinking
Right.
where we are creators. I think the creative part is a different part.
Mm.
The other, from years ago, I was always trying to be a positive thinker, but it was more of a planning and I'll focus on this enough um, and this is a little bit more relaxed or something. I don't know, hard to
Yeah.
describe.
Wow. No, I
Yeah.
love it. Like, I feel super identified because, in the sense of like, I was always hustling, and it's like, there was always competition. There's always somebody, even though there was nobody next to me, like in my imagination, there was somebody that was going to overpass me, or I needed to get ahead of somebody. It was always like a race. And now it's like, I just go with the flow. If it feels good, I do it. If I don't, I don't. And it's just like so relaxed, and everything's so much more enjoyable.
That's a good description. Yeah, and I do identify with that. I mean, I don't think I know other people that are even more outwardly competitive,
Yeah,
but I
exactly.
think I have been quietly, inwardly competitive, thinking I need to keep doing things, whether it's to help people or to provide income for my family, or a constant doing, 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 and and this is a little bit different from that. So, and
Mhm.
I something I'm tried trying to think about these days. Well, think about, be open to knowing what my role is going to be in the years to come. Because right now I'm just enjoying working with the students, and I know my wanting to get a lot of stuff done is still part of my nature, and I try and allow that to happen in a good enough way, because I'm thinking, okay, if I can get the right types of support to these students with disabilities, they're going to have less of a chance of failing and becoming discouraged and losing track of what they might want to do, what's based on what they want to do, not my goals. But so I think in terms of, I think that's still always going to be part of me. And part of this honestly goes back to, not completely, but partly to, I've had this heart problem that was, I had was born with a leaky heart valve, and that affected how I was thinking and feeling, what I was able to do
Mm.
earlier on in my life. And then I eventually figured out ways to um, get the same level of energy and get a chance to do a lot of things regardless. And then eventually had a new valve put in. So I'm able to be very active. But having faced that situation of um, honestly going into the operating room, and they stopped my heart with chemicals, and that's about as close to coming to not making out at the other end. Everything went fine, but I think honestly that was one of an experience, along with perhaps, as everybody loses people. I mean, there's those reminders of being faced with not being in this world that makes me think about, okay, I'm going to pack as much life into this day or this week or this year. That's probably not a bad thing.
Mm.
But I think that goes into, if I'm not careful, I need to, it's possible, I think, for us to sometimes try to do so much, even if it's not about work. I've got to, you can get too busy with friends and family and things like that, hobbies, even where you don't slow down and kind of enjoy life.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally agree. Like, yes, like I feel like in USA, because I grew up there most of my life and it's super competitive compared to other countries, everybody's super competitive. And then here in Spain, everyone is like mellow. People take like 3 naps a day. They open the stores in the morning whenever they feel like it. They close it whenever they feel like it. It's very relaxed. So it's definitely like, yeah, like just because you're taking a nap or relaxing or not doing anything, it doesn't mean that you're wasting time. Like just feel
Right.
good.
Yeah, and yeah, I can imagine that, where you're living now. And I've got a friend who, he and his wife ended up moving from uh, United States to Panama, and they created a dream. And they used a lot of these principles too. But he talked about how things are so much more slow paced and relaxed, and
Yeah.
nap, siesta, things like that. So, but I'm I'm just fascinated, honestly, about how you went from your, maybe I'll use conventional work that was skilled, that was very specialized,
Yeah.
but you were working for an employer, and then all of a sudden just jumped out into, um, working for yourself, and being open to the universe to
Mm.
trust and all that. That must have been very difficult in a way.
Yeah, like that the taking that first step, it was the hardest part. I was waiting for the right time. And I just wanted to quit that corporate job after the first year, even before the first year was over. I'm like I hate this. I don't want to be here anymore. And I was waiting for the right time. Like I wanted somebody to tell me it's okay to quit, the right now is good, or something to tell me, you can do it now. So I waited 2 years and a half in that corporate job. I'm like, when is it the right time? And then when I was getting close to quitting, it's like things got better. I practiced self-love for a year, which was my last year at this corporate job, and everything got better because my self-love got better. So I was ascended to a better position. I was treated well. I was being respected, not 100%, but like like way more. I just felt like I was, people were seeing my talents, my skills, and they were seeing that I was intelligent, like that I had a lot of potential. And it's because I was seeing that in me. I was seeing my value. And then that made it harder. I'm like, oh my gosh, now that I'm being treated well, it's like, how can I leave it? Before I wanted to leave it because I hated it. I
Right.
hated everything about that place, even the place where I live, because I'm like, I love to travel. And then I turned 29, and I'm like, I don't want to turn 30 and still be at this job. So literally, when I turned 20, I'm like, I have to do it now, even though it's probably one of the best moments at this job. I need to do it now because it's another year is gonna pass by, then another, then I'm gonna turn 35 and 40. So I'm like, I need to do it now. So it was February 14th. I will always remember it. I put my, well, I asked the CEO, can I talk to you for a minute, when everybody left. And then we sat down. He's like, okay. Then I started crying. I'm like, I'm quitting. And then, yeah, I cried because I don't know. I just felt like everybody was like having expectations. My parents, the job, people were treating me nice. And I just felt like I let everyone down. But it's like I needed to be happy. I needed to put myself first instead of others. But once I took that first step, every single step after that, it was so easy. Like it's still scary. Like I don't know if tomorrow, what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? Because I don't have um, automatic clients, right? I don't have a paycheck every 2 weeks, so like I have to like attract things, right? Make it happen. But it's easy compared to that first step, and I don't know. It's like you just trust. You just ask, you receive. You ask and receive. You just get better at trusting, I guess.
And you've been doing this more on a regular basis.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
sometimes we get a chance to to take a step out without some safety net.
Exactly.
You're doing it constantly, which yeah, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
if anything, you dealing with people's expectations, that's something we all deal
Yeah.
with. But then you sounds like you encountered that situation where you felt like well, you did have the skills and they did figure no, you got into a position where you were getting some positive feedback. And if anything, they felt like, well, you have to be staying here.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, exactly.
And then
Yeah, but it's like it's all a game. Like it's never gonna end, right? Like that's what I realized. Like nobody's ever going to take care of me, right? Nobody's ever going to tell me do that, do this. It's like people are gonna tell me what's beneficial for them. And it's
Mhm.
like I had to be super selfish, you know, but in a super loving way. I'm like, I have to do this for me. So I did it and yeah.
Well, so really, a lot of what you've been doing is that faith part of you're believing in something before you see it or experience it, and you do that on a regular basis. But do you? What are some things? Just curious if that you learn how to do, or you did differently, that allowed you to more naturally get into that kind of trust fall. Like I'm just going to keep moving forward, and something will happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like just manifesting little things is like just building up my trust in that I am the creator. So and then seeing the signs, paying attention, like, wait, I did think of this, you know, a week ago and now it's here. Like I created this. And then just seeing the signs and then thinking back. So I had to do a lot of thinking back, like what was I thinking before? I look at my notebooks, I'm like, I did think this, I did say this, and then this happened. So I build up my trust in myself that I am the creator, that my thoughts do create my reality. And with that, like I journal every day, well, almost every day, you know, how I want my day to go, how I want um something like this interview to go. You know, I journal everything. It's like I'm creating everything, you know. I'm not leaving almost anything to like luck, because why if I can create it? I mean, I don't get too like rough, but like if I want something to go well, I'm just gonna write it out, because I know my brain is still negative automatically. Like it's I still expect the worst things. My brain still thinks like, what if he doesn't show up? What if I get stuck? What if I have nothing to say? What if, you know, it's like and then when I let my brain do that and then I believe my brain, is like I manifest, you know, weird stuff, like bad stuff. So in the morning I try to put intentions so my brain during the day doesn't manifest weird stuff, because
So
I
you
feel like reprogrammed to think negative.
so you tend to do that in the morning. You're
Yeah, I try to,
journaling.
yeah, almost every morning, but if not, like 5 days a week or something.
And can you describe how you've used vision boards or writing down goals or something for a year from now, or what the next biggest
Mhm.
things? How do you do that?
Well, I'll always look back at how I manifested this life, and it was literally by like a vision board. It started with a vision board, like the big picture. Like in the vision board for me, it's not little goals. It's not like I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to have the latest iPhone. For me, a vision board is like my ideal life. You know, it's like so they seem really big goals. So when I was in my corporate job, this was like at least 1 year before I quit. In my vision board, I had a van, a girl traveling in a van, a girl like just working out and, you know, like in nature, a girl traveling with her soulmate, a girl doing art, you know. So it was like the opposite of what I had. I didn't have freedom. Nobody approved of me living in a van. I asked my parents like for their permission, what they thought about me living in a van. They're like, how could you just leave everything and be homeless? You know, so it was like, no. So for me, that was like, I don't know why, but I thought I was gonna manifest that van in like 5 years. I'm like, you know, I have to have a lot of money saved up if I want to live in a van, you know, because how am I gonna get money? So I need to have money. So I had like this plan of how it was gonna happen. But when I just like visualized and affirmed and kept visualizing for a year, like it just happened. Like like I didn't have money. Like the money came to me, the van came to me. Like when I quit the job, I had $5,000, and then before I went to Europe, I only had $1,000. So I don't know how I spent everything, but I spent almost everything before I went to Europe for 3 months to hitchhike, travel by myself. And then there I met people who like paid me, who gave me free stuff. And then with that free money, I bought the van. So it's like when you just don't plan how it's going to happen and you just ask for what you want, but don't plan how it's going to happen, that's when everything happens magically. And
Right.
I just hold the vision. Like you said, how I manifest something from a year, right? From today and a year. I hold the same vision. Like, don't change your vision. Like, unless it doesn't make you feel good anymore. But for me, living in the van, it just opened my heart. I'm like, I felt like I was like out of prison, the van, just like me by myself in nature. So whenever I looked at the vision board, it was like, I'm like freedom.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's kind of a fascinating part. There's a couple of things that I um, am aware of differently than I think I was years ago. And one is that creativity, creative power within us is pretty amazing. And that um, I don't know if I'll ever figure out God or the universe or higher powers or things like that, but I can easily think about something created, a force, an energy created the world, and so if that creative power is some within me, then that's pretty significant. And then that whole idea of to get from here to here, if this is my, like you described just a moment ago, don't worry about how you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Be open to the possibilities, because there's that expression of bridge of incidents or whatever, um, that if we're all connected, which I also now believe more than I used to,
Mm-hmm.
um, then it could be hundreds and thousands or even a handful of the right people that come along at the right time, that are that stepping points, and they absolutely answered provided what was needed to
Mm.
move forward. So that's kind of fascinating to me too.
Mm. Wow, no, yeah. I know I love this conversation because it's making me think of like how I was able to let go of the how. Because I feel like for me that was the hardest part in the very beginning. And sometimes I get stuck in the how, but like for me, meditation helped me like like release the ends or release control of the how, because meditation helps you detach from for a moment of like any kind of thought or problem solution. It's just you're just there,
Yeah,
hopefully in silence. If not, like you're just not thinking of the future, how, when.
right. There's something I've done a couple of times on meditation, which is that part of me over the years has felt like, well, I can't just sit there in a chair for
Yeah.
15 minutes, and I'm supposed to be doing something. You
Yeah.
know, I've got something around needs to be picked up or fixed or work or whatever. There's all these things that are not done. So this is an interesting visual, and I'm going to try it again. I've done it a couple times, but I kind of picture in this comfortable chair that I meditate for 10, 15 minutes in. There's a clear box around me. It's
Mm.
kind of like plexiglass or whatever, and there's good ventilation, but anything outside that box, somehow at that day, um, there's extra people that have been hired to take care of absolutely everything I feel like I should be doing.
Mm.
So anything I haven't gotten done or I fell behind on, I'm responding to somebody on my job or something that needs to be done with a vehicle or some house taking care of something. For that time, as long as I'm in that little sitting in my chair in that box, it's kind of a fun little visualization, because I deal with it's a little visual way to for me to deal with, for that time I don't have to do anything. So
Wow.
So you went for a year or so visualizing things before you made that decision. So that seems like and you described how you sometimes fight against that, thinking about, oh, it's not going to work out or things won't.
Yeah,
So that,
absolutely.
interesting.
Like I wasn't consistent. Like I feel like half the time I was negative. I'm like, that's never gonna happen. And then the other half is like, no, it is gonna happen. So it was
Mm,
like that, it's like on and off, on and off. And then the last 6 months of my self-love, first self-love year, I hired a coach. I don't know how it happened. Like I wasn't looking for one. Like it just happened. Like it just popped up in my. I had this app called Shaper. It's like a networking app. Literally, you just like connect with entrepreneurs, and for me, it was like the first time talking to people who like made money doing what they love. So it was like a way for me to build up my confidence that I can also do it. And then, so it's like Tinder. Tinder, the dating app. So it's like Tinder, but it's networking. So you just see all the people who are close to you, who like I don't know, they have a business or they want to collaborate on a job. So it's like that. And then one girl had a life coach, and it was the first time I saw life coach and somebody who helps people with their goals. I'm like, okay. So I swiped, we talked, and then she's like, yeah, I'll help you like reach your goals, keep you accountable, blah blah blah. And I'm like, wow, that seems very attractive because I keep falling off my personal goals. Like I was too busy studying for exams, I was too busy working, I was too busy stressing over the job. Like I couldn't. I knew my focus created my reality. I believed in the law of attraction, and I also believe self-love was like magic, hope upon everything. But like I would do it a weekend, and then the rest of the week I wouldn't, and then or I would do it on Monday, and then I don't know, it was like on and off. Like I didn't have consistency. So when she popped up and she's like, yeah, I'll help you, like this is my job, this is what I love to do. So I hired her, and it was like amazing. Like she's the one who taught me to write at least 3 things to be grateful for in the morning, and also to write them as if they already happened in the present moment. So like already start manifesting in the morning and do the same thing at night. Be grateful for 3 things that happened that day. So that I didn't know this back then, but like that raised my frequency and made me have a focus. And seriously, like that, she taught me more stuff like how, writing letters to the universe, but like that little habit of like writing out your day in the morning and at night changed my life. And I feel like that's what truly helped me like live the life that I am now, because I still do that little habit of like writing in the morning and setting intentions. It's like so powerful.
yeah, it's
Mm.
small but powerful,
Yeah,
simple,
yeah,
powerful.
exactly.
But do you think that at some point you then successfully got to a higher point of vibration before things really you were really ready to make that change?
Yeah, definitely. Like just the writing out every day how it would go, like the meeting. I'm so happy and grateful the meeting went well. I love
Mhm.
that I received compliments, blah blah blah. And everything, almost everything was happening that I was writing. So everything was getting so good at the job. I was ascending really good. I was learning really fast because I was like writing all these positive intentions, and then there I knew that I was creating my reality, and then that's what also helped me like just quit the job. And I immediately got a job, like a digital job. Like I actually got a job 1 month before I left. It's like you, I got a job before I left it, and it was like a remote job, like you, like on the computer designing homes, but like from my room. So it was.
Who'd have thought how much more that's just what's fascinating. And then this is why I'm just so glad that you're so passionate about this. This is, and I am fascinated by this too, and have been off and on for many years. And so it's not a new thing to be interested in, but it's just amazing that it seems like the majority of people haven't discovered or don't aren't interested in or aren't open to, and they're missing out on the magic, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it's a great name for your channel. So
Thank
I
you, Jay.
This has been fun talking.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jay. Like, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure having you here, sharing your story, sharing how you manifested your dream job and how you did it. Because when people see that not too long ago you were in a opposite place and within a few months you're like in a dream place, like it's gonna give them hope because it gives me hope. So I know it's gonna give everyone hope. So thank you, Jake.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a whole nother, the below the surface part that I think it might be hopefully inspiring to other people, but other people can always think, oh, you had this and this that made it seem likely that you get that job. The other thing besides, I was able to thankfully pull away from the dark world of just being very discouraged and feeling like things weren't going to change. And I know that's hard. But I think that part that you're part of the things that you teach is just to try doing and making some changes. And so I look forward to more of your videos, and I hope everybody will dive back into your archives and library and check out some more.
Oh, thank you so much, Jay. Well, if anybody has any questions for Jay, would you be willing to answer them, Jay, for them in the comments?
Sure. Yep. I'd be glad to.
Okay, well, thank you. We're gonna say bye in the background, but thank you, everyone.
Thank you.